It doesn't say what destination to go to?
No, it didn't. So I'm looking now. Can you look on Facebook right now to make sure? Hey, everybody, we're trying to work out some technical difficulties. If I'm live to you right now, just hold your breath, say hello, and we'll see if we're getting there.
I see something looking like it's trying to come on. There it is.
Okay, all right, everybody, welcome. Thank you so much for being here with me. We had a little technical issue right there at the bottom of the hour, but I'm excited to bring to you this amazing story of the quilters in Ukraine. Maria and Nelga, who I'm interviewing today, is an absolute goddess. She is mover and shaker. Her passion for bringing the Ukrainian quilters the passion of quilting in the country, but also putting them on the international quilting stage has been amazing. And as you might expect, the past year has not been any kind of easy for anybody. If you cannot watch this entire thing right now, it's going to run about 40 to 45 minutes. If you cannot watch it right now, would you please come back to the link on one of these Quilt Show page, Ricky Tim's page, YouTube, and definitely take time to watch. It is inspiring. I want you to listen to Maria's words because it is passion and eye-opening beyond measure. So without any further ado, I just want to share with you this amazing story of quilters in Ukraine as told by my good friend Maria Nelga. Hey everybody, Ricky Timms here, and I am so proud and excited to have our guest today, Maria Nelga. Maria is in actually Krakow, Poland, but she's Ukrainian, uh, from Kiev, and she's going to tell us all about what's been going on with quilters in the Ukraine and how they have been dealing with everything since the war started a year ago, actually. I know there was trouble before that, but the real assault has been about a year now, right?
Yes, yeah, it's been a
So
year.
So here's what I'd like to do first, Maria. I want to just talk about quilting in the Ukraine. You are the leader. You have headed up and created the Ukrainian Patchwork Association. And so you're the mover and shaker that keeps quilting thriving and going. But tell us a little bit about quilting in the Ukraine. I know you've been to the States, so tell us some differences. Tell us about the community.
Mm. Thank you very much for being invited and have an opportunity to talk about Ukrainian quilters and patchwork in general. And I'm very honored here to tell how it is in Ukraine now and how it was before the war also. So actually, patchwork is in Ukraine developed very fast, and we are moving from the very zero, from the very beginning with no materials, no fabrics, no notions or something to the distributors that actually have the newest products that are in American market, but also are sold to Ukrainian quilters. We have quilt shops, bigger, smaller. We have lots of quilters who have developed their skills as a teachers, starting from the very beginning, but now they are teaching their own techniques. We have studios that are like open spaces for those who want to know more about patchwork and to start their patchwork life. And actually, before the February 24th, we have a very interesting and fulfilled patchwork life. We have the festivals, we have the displays, we have personal exhibitions, we have lots of the activities, online activities, the individual life activities devoted to patchwork, and the life was fulfilled with creativity. And it is not just the creativity, but the creativity with the Ukrainian style. And we are very happy to be integrated into international quilters community. And I'm happy that Ukrainian quilters are willing to share their ideas, their style, but to learn the techniques that are taught by famous patchwork stars internationally. This is important
Well,
for us.
I was gonna say, you say Ukraine style. What, I mean, you see our style. What's different? What, I mean, what is it? Because I'm sure that it's blending, but tell me about Ukrainian style.
The Ukrainian style is about the colors, is about um, passion to make unique things, not repeating what they see in the internet, but even if they want to follow some pattern or some artist or some designer, they always changing everything and make all the quilts very personal. And we have actually famous Ukrainian quilters that are known all over the world, and they work with their unique techniques of style, of technique, of sewing technique, and also of the performance. And that is what Ukrainian patchwork is about.
Well, I have come to really love what you have brought to the international quilting community through bringing the voices of the people that you know. You're kind of the passionate leader, and I've had the lucky privilege to meet some of the Ukrainian quilters as well and see the works firsthand, and it really is exciting. Do the quilters in Ukraine, do they do kind of like what we do? Do they have guilds or small groups that actually meet together and that kind of thing? Does that happen?
Um, Before February 24th last year, in Ukraine, in most of the regions, so we had the Quilters Guild communities that were joined together, and even they had their own regional style of patchwork. There were classes and quilting schools in Kherson, Odessa, Dnipro, Lviv, Kiev, Kamenets-Podolsky, and other cities. It was so popular, but we actually are very embroidery country. The traditional crafts here in Ukraine is hand embroidery, cross stitch, and also beading. But patchwork has started to develop very fast and is a very fascinating thing because it helps people to join together. It helps to form the community of friends who are being joined with the pieces of fabric to share the ideas and to spend time for.
Maria, I was in Kiev in 1998, which was, I mean, that's been a while ago, but to see the beautiful designs and the aesthetic, and you're right about the embroidery on garments and in tapestries, the tradition of textile in Ukraine is fabulous, and now the embracing of quilting. It reminds me of how the United States was during the Renaissance when quilting was really everybody was so excited, and that's what the Ukrainian quilters are bringing right now, is that wonderful excitement. Now, I know that things have changed. I'd like for you to talk a little bit about the dynamics, because that's really what I want to catch up on, the dynamics of what has transpired during this last year.
Yeah, the last year was more than difficult for us. I must tell you that we actually have the war since 2014. It's been 9 years, but even being in that type of life, we haven't expected of what has happened during night of February 23rd to February 24th. And we were shocked as well as the whole world was shocked. And the life changed just at the single moment, the single moment nobody wanted to realize that it happened. And the war came, the big devastating war came, and we needed to deal with it as we could. And the first month was very hard for everybody because the whole country was under attack, and quilters, Ukrainian quilters, are living around all the country. And as soon as we were receiving the notes about the places where the bombs landed or any war actions happened, we were trying to find the connection with those who are there, asking them whether they are okay. And I'm gonna tell you that we have one quilter. Her name is Irina Lukashenko, and she was that lady that were like checking, making the check around the country whether everybody was okay. And the single question of 3 words, "How are you?" meant everything. Meant, and the answer, like plus or "I'm okay," "I'm fine," that was close, that was very close, meant a lot. When you are receiving the answer, you just know that the person is alive. And the moment you are waiting for that answer is very difficult. And as soon as because the word takes lots of the common things from your life, just like being connected to internet, having the mobile network, having just basic things we got used to, and the understanding that you cannot reach the person and just know whether he or she is okay is very painful.
It's
But
very
hopefully,
painful. I can only imagine. You've got some video because the quilters are not going to let this beat them, even when they don't have the luxury of things like electricity. I'm going to share some video here. You can tell me what we're looking at. In this video, we're seeing the quilters working without electricity, right?
yeah, this is not even without electricity. This is the period of time that is called worldwide like blackout. There was no electricity, there was no heating, there was no understanding where the electricity will be. But these are the quilters that are making the finishing the project they have started to share the Ukrainian piece of culture that is shown in the pieces of fabric that is quilt wall hanging. This is a project called this is the project that was founded by Natalia Safonova, and the inspiration was Ukrainian painter Exter, who is an avant-gardist, and the project will be shown in Italy this May. And these ladies were doing a fantastic job. It is not only about the job, it is about the thing that Ukrainian Patchwork didn't stop with the war, and people wanted to continue their strategy of life, of their peaceful life that was fulfilled with the pure emotions, with the love, with the happiness, with the happy pieces of fabrics. And this is about the being brave in the ability to think about future that will always come, and it will be fulfilled with patches, and they will be able to continue their creative life as well.
On this next video, I want to just take a moment to listen and tell us after we hear what she is saying, okay?
Доброго вечора, ми з України. Зараз працюю над своєю красунею, вишиваю обличчя. І 12-вольтова лампа мені в поміч.
This is Tamara Romanova. She is in Kyiv at the moment, and she is saying a very famous Ukrainian statement that Ukrainian soldiers said, "Hello, we are from Ukraine." And she says how she works during the blackout. She works with a lamp that is just like a USB chargeable lamp, and she, as soon as she gets the electricity, she just charges first the lamp to be able to continue her sewing process. And she is so happy not to stop and have the opportunity to make the stitch by stitch to finish the project on time. And she was working at that apartment together with Tamara Milovatova, that was shown by you on the previous slide. And there was no heating. There was very cold in their apartment, but they went up with their heart and with their will to live with the pure emotions and with the patchwork.
I have some pictures of another quilter. I want you to tell us about this quilter and her project, okay?
This is Yulia Gul, and she is a fantastic lover of hand sewing techniques, hand-pieced hexagons on a paper basis. And she was the first one who sent me the photos after 3 months, after 3 weeks after the start of the big invasion, and that was the photo. Yeah, this was her basement of her house, and she settled the place for sewing. She also had that chargeable light in her basement, and on the next photo, we can see how she was making her quilt with hexagons on paper basis. And this photo impressed me so much. On this photo, there are fabrics, there is light, and there is a Bible laying on the table. And that photo told me a lot about people who were blocked on the suburb of Kiev. And that lady was actually living 1 month under these heavily attacks without knowing what will be tomorrow. But she was continuing her quilt, and she told me that quilting and sewing these patches together helped her hands not to shake, and that was the best therapy she had. And unfortunately, the war didn't last for 2 or 3 weeks. And then on the next photo, we can see how she progressed with the days. The war was trying to take the life and take the inspiration. And yes, the days were passing and the war was continuing. And so for now, she has the quilt that is sized. This is like a king size
Yes,
quilt.
it's big.
It's big, but these flowers and the colors and the passion for quilting shows that people are not about the war. People are against the war. People do not want to allow the war to enter into their life and to take their pure emotions with what they lived before that. And the war is not a method, and also it is not the way. Even people who are stay at the territory of war, this is not the way they want to live their life. And these quilts is the confirmation of a choice, being people, being human, even in very hard life moments that you cannot make anything with the situation that happens.
Definitely resiliency, uh, staying strong, mental. Uh, the quilting helps us internally to just keep going sometimes. And I have
Yeah,
found that to be true with quilters in times of, tsunamis or earthquakes or other tragedies. The quilters will come together and not only help each other, but they do the quilting and they do the work to sort of keep themselves sane through difficult and challenging times.
yeah.
You have, let me show the next set of slides here because, excuse me, I want to just show these quilts. If you could just talk as we go through them.
Yes. These are fantastic people who have coordinated an international project that is called Wrap Ukraine with Quilts. They have gathered more than 25,000 quilts in the United States, and they gave these quilts and donated these quilts to the refugees that are staying in the United States, in Poland, in Ukraine, in Romania. So these people were touched by the situation that is happening in Ukraine, and that was not about a political choice or any other, but that was about people, and people were trying to help each other with what they can, and that help that much important as the financial donation, because I think that this is the project that unites people in between the continents with an opportunity to help each other, because the quilt is not just a blanket. The quilt, it is the masterpiece that has been made with pure love. And actually, American quilters were able, thanks to that project, they were able to give a hug to Ukrainian refugees, to Ukrainian kids. And that power of humanity can be filled in every piece of fabric that you see on the presentation. And I'm going to tell you that next week these quilts will be displayed in Kiev. And we have found the opportunity to make the exhibition of quilts in the shelter. So even if there will be the air attacks or alarms, so it will be secured and the patchwork will continue at the display. And I was so impressed with how the international quilters community has joined their efforts to support Ukrainians, to help Ukrainian people with the word, with the quilt, with every patch. And I can tell you that every quilt that you see on that presentation has the QR code that has the information about the quilt, who has made that quilt, and part of a personal information about like email or some contacts in social networks that people from Ukraine who has got this quilt can contact with. And I can tell you that in most of the cases, just the understanding that people who live very different lives on a different continents with no war, they are thinking about you being blocked with the war, being under the occupation, because people who got out from the occupied territories, they lived for months with the understanding and with the propaganda that they are left by everybody. Nobody cares about them. But these quilts that are made with the pure love tells more than just a blanket. This is such a worms, human worms that is as much needed as a physical help or like financial help in Ukraine.
I I mean, I know that those quilts come and the recipients have to know the work that it went into it, but underneath the work was the love that you spoke of. That they were made with love, they were made with care to bring a smile, to bring comfort, and to send a message that you're remembered, you're not forgotten, and you're
Mhm.
supported. We support you. And I think that is a strong message and hopefully does bring comfort during a difficult time.
Yes, and I want to add one thing about these quilts, that we have contacted to the charity foundation that takes care about the kids who has lost their fathers being soldiers from February 24th. We say that these are the kids of the father heroes, and these charity quilts from Wrap Ukraine with quilts will go to 108 kids that have lost and invested into the defense of their country, the most valuable things.
So I do believe that just a few weeks ago that you and the quilters organized kind of a special exhibition. I know that Claudia File has been helping bring quilts for
Yeah.
refugees, and some of these quilts were going to be on display, but there was attacks and there was lack of electricity. I want to take a look now, if we could, at some of those, and I want you to
Yes.
tell us this story. I think it's pretty amazing, actually.
Yes. This is a project by Claudia Pfeil from Germany that she has started from the very first days of the big invasion to Ukraine. And this is the display where quilters has gathered for kind of a guild meeting at the center of Ukraine. But there was the day there was Ukraine and Kiev was heavily attacked, and there was no electricity. There was always the air alarms, signals. There was everything, even public transport was stopped. But the four ladies, Tamara Romanova, Galina Koroleva, Natalia Katyuk, Irina Vasilieva, they got to that display, and there was no light in the inside of the building, but the light of their hearts and the lights of the quilts were so bright that that was not a problem for them to make that event happen. And just look at the faces of and the happiness in the eyes of quilters, that if they've got that opportunity for the happy moment, and they were making the photos with their mobile phones lights, and nothing has stopped them. And that light of humanity, it can be felt from every piece of quilt, every patch of that quilt. And I'm gonna tell you that Claudia Pfeil and her initiative is so big and has united quilters from all over the world of making the blue and yellow quilt blocks that are symbolizing the national colors of Ukraine. It really helped even us to think about being thought, being cared about, and that we need to move forward, and we need to think about our patchwork future as well.
I actually love this so much because I do see that in the midst of, I know it is great fear and worry and struggle, the faces of the ladies that have been to this exhibit and being with each other and being in a room filled with color and seeing this all happen with the cell phone lights. And here's the volunteers. Tell us about this.
These are the volunteers. These are the two very brave ladies who took the quilts and they will give them to the relocated kids from the occupied Kherson. These is south territories of Ukraine. They were so happy wrapping with these quilts and knowing that the blocks of these quilts have been done by quilters from United States, from Australia, from all over the world, and they are hugged with the women and women love and passion from around the world. This is very very touchable moment, and the kids really feel that power of humanity in every piece of fabric.
And you're talking about all over the world. You haven't mentioned Japan, but the Japanese have also stepped up, and that's the quilt that's behind you with the cranes. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yes, this is the Japanese project, and this is the Japanese quilters who have gathered 150 quilters to make the crane quilts in our national colors to support Ukrainian quilters after the first days of the big invasion. They emailed to the Ukrainian Quilters Association and got in touch with us that we think about you and we care about you and we pray for peace in your country, and we would like to send you the quilts that we have done in order to show you how important these brave battle of Ukrainian is for us also. And these Ukraine quilts was initiated. This project has been started by Kumi Maruyama. This is the Japanese quilters quilter and she's a teacher. And they showed these quilts at the Japanese quilt show. And also they've sent these quilts to us. And this year in October there will be the Ukrainian Quilters Festival, and we will have these quilts on the display. And if you will look, every quilt block of these quilts has been done by different quilter, and there is a signature from the back side saying who has done it, and with the statement of support for Ukrainians and for Ukrainian quilters.
So Maria, you have you kind of are the queen of quilting in Ukraine. I use that word because you're a leader. You keep you're the glue that has put it together, and you're the glue that has kept it together. And I just want to talk for a moment about your mental well-being and how you have managed through all of this. And I know it's very personal to ask that question, but I would love to hear a little bit about how you are navigating these choppy waters.
Well, thank you for that question and your personal support. But I may tell you that every person has it's his own limit, and for me, there was almost a limit. I found myself blocked with the war, and for the moment, I had lots of the doubts of whether to continue what I've been doing through 15 years of my life, and whether to continue the patchwork, whether it will be needed someday. But I want to tell you that one day when my son noticed that the studio was closed for more than 3 months, he came to me and took my hand and told me, Mother, you for all of my life I remember you like a person who never gives up, and you always taught me not to give up, and always follow your dreams, even if the way you need to come through is not an easy one. And I want you just to turn on your long arm machine. And he took my hand and just pushed the button of the computer, turning on my long arm machine. And that was kind of a like he just shake me up and woke me up because I was freezed for the first months of the war, because in my family there are 4 men who are soldiers, and they're defending our country on the front line, and all our family was focused on prayers. I'm very thankful to my son who woke me up, and to all of the Ukrainian quilters that always were asking me about how am I, and when they will see the next quilts. So I didn't give up. I didn't give up, and we go forward and we continue our activity. I know that patchwork is such a healing thing that helped me to recover. And I also, one of the pushing moments was the post of you, Ricky Timms, with the quilt that you were making.
Let me just share that quilt here. This is my quilt, and it's, of course, sunflowers for the national flower of Ukraine. The blue and the yellow swath at the bottom, of course, is the colors of the flag. And I had a comment on social media that somebody didn't like the red because it distracted from the beauty of the flower. But it's a very strong and powerful statement. I believe the red for me symbolizes the blood of the innocents, of those who don't deserve what's happened to them, their loved ones, and their families. So it is a little bit bold, but it's bold for a reason. And I ended up naming this quilt, though, something that's not so sad, which is sunshine on a cloudy day. And I feel like, my granny taught me that there's always a silver lining, that no matter how bad things are, it could be worse. And I know that right now things in Ukraine are are bad, to be honest. You know, it's difficult, but I hope that there's always this light that you spoke about, the light of the quilts, the light of the smiles, the light that comes from the cell phone. There's always a light that says, through the darkness, we are going to find a way forward. I am so thankful, Maria, that our community gets to know you a little bit through this interview. You are golden to me. I first met you in Houston, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, and I knew that your spirit was one that wanted to bring honor and dignity, and you wanted to bring the Ukrainian quilters into sort of the international arena, which you have done, and you have glued a community together, and your efforts are they are invaluable. I don't know that you'll ever fully know how much you have accomplished and the impact that you will have on not right now, but on generations to come. And so I hail you. My hat's off. By the way, speaking of hat,
Yes. Yeah, yeah. That was the hat I presented to you on the first meeting, and that was devoted to the moment that was the first time Ukrainian quilts, thanks to the quilt show projects that united quilters from all over the world, that was display of these quilts. There were three first Ukrainian quilts displayed at Houston
yeah,
Festival. That was for Ukrainian quilters, that was kind of a goal that was they were afraid to dream about to achieve, but that was the moment when I told them everything is achievable. Just dream about it, and so we are creating our reality. And may I take just like few moments saying how helpful the quilters community was in Europe. The European Quilters Association, we are actually the member of European Quilters Association, and they, from the very first days of war, they were helping and trying to fundraise the money for the basic needs of Ukrainians. And I'm gonna tell you that I was impressed how Spanish Quilters Association fundraised the money for wound dressing to heal people not only emotionally but physically. That we actually helped the hospitals of Ukraine to heal civilians after the heavy attacks, buying the wound dressings. And the Italian Quilters Association, they were fundraising money, and they actually helped us to buy the 80 the Hygiene kits for 80 families of the deoccupied Kiev suburb. And there were so many cases when people were just involved with no request. And this is what Patchwork is about. This is what the Patchwork community is, the very open-hearted and supportive people, no matter what language you speak and no matter what continent you live. And I want to thank all of you who thought about us, who supported us, who wrote messages of support during that time, who donated fabrics, who made the quilts for Ukrainian kids and just for Ukrainians, and kept us in prayers for that very difficult year for us. This means a lot, and we thank for every initiative, for every act of open-hearted support. This means a lot, and I cannot even find the appropriate words, but
I
we remember everyone.
I can imagine, and you know, it's easy for things to be, uh, uh, I guess, built big at the start, and then there things can fizzle, you know, and they can diminish. The quilters are not going to diminish. We're going to stand with Ukraine. We're going to tend. If you have needs, Maria, if there are needs, we just need to know. If there are programs, I know the quilters would contribute fabric or batting, or they would contribute bindings, or they would do anything they can to help. We just have to know. And we don't want anybody to be overwhelmed either, because I know that logistically people are scattered. But if you ever have a situation right now where I can be a voice and ask quilters, worldwide to chip in and help, would you please let me know, and I will do that. I want to thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
I'm so glad that the world gets to get to know you a little bit better. You were talking about the quilts that came to Houston for the small exhibit, but then in 2019, Natalia Lashko won one of the
Yeah,
major prizes, and to have a Ukrainian quilt in the top was really, really exciting as well. And that continued to happen in other shows in the United States. And we look forward to things getting back to normal. We certainly pray for victory and know that the future is going to be bright. And we're looking forward to seeing all the wonderful quilts that come out of Ukraine. And thank you so much for being the support for all of those wonderful people there.
thank you. Thank you very much. And I hope that next our meeting will be at the display of Ukrainian quilts in American festivals, and your quilts will come to peaceful capital of Ukraine, beautiful city Kiev, and we will have that display. And I hope that as soon as the war will over, will but the wars definitely have
Yeah.
that's its
And
endings. So
I've already promised you I will be there when it's safe
yes,
and we can gather. I will come and we will have a great time. So
yeah,
God bless you, Maria. God
you're
bless the
welcome.
quilters in
Thank you.
Ukraine. And thank you so much for visiting with us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye.